Hi there, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. This is Jessica with I Read to Relax, and I am here today to do my January reading wrap up. Sorry I didn't get any videos up this past week. It's been a little crazy at work. So this was the first opportunity I had to do a video since my TBR video for February, but here we are. So in the month of January, I did read 8 books, and I'm going to share them with you now and let you know what I thought. All right, let's jump right in. One of my goals for 2026 was to read more nonfiction. I have not set myself like an official how many, anything like that, just more, because I tend not to read any nonfiction, and so anything is better than nothing. But I read my first nonfiction book in the month of January, and it was The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. And I really like Brené Brown's writing style. I think it's very accessible. I think she both dives into like things that really spark thought, that make you reconsider, your own self, but also like explains things in a easy to understand way. I think she's got a really great tone. I've done 1 or 2 of her books in the past, and I've had this book for a very long time, so I'm very excited that I finally read it. I don't really rate nonfiction, so I'm not going to do that with this one, but I will say I really struggle a lot of times with perfectionism, and I think this book had some really great tools for sort of reframing things in your brain, to give yourself grace and to be able to sort of step back from perfectionism. And also, I think it's a book that, it's very short, but impactful. And I think I am most certainly planning to read this again at least once. I made notes as I was going, but I feel like I need some time to digest. And then I'm going to read it again and, digest. You know how you pick up new things every time? Like, I'll end up getting even deeper into it the next time I read it. So very, very glad that I read this. I sort of took my time during the month of January to read it in smaller chunks. And I think that's a great way to take on a book like this as well. Like, in between each sort of like 10 or 15 pages that I read, I took a day or so to kind of like let that sink in and then read the next bit. So that was great. I do have another book that I'm going to be reading in February that's a nonfiction, but it's more of a like memoir / story collection from someone, because I don't want to like burn myself out. So fingers crossed, we'll hit another one in February. Then I read a little novella. It's an ebook, Never's Imperfect Christmas. And this one is a dual author novella. It's like a multi-series crossover. And I really, really love Silas Ream's Shifter Vengeance series, which features Never, one of the main characters in this novella. The Shifter Vengeance series is over, so it was really nice to get sort of like this extra little snippet of where the characters are a little bit after that series ended. And it was a great, sort of like Christmas novella for fans of like urban fantasy. I recommend going back and reading the first book in the Shifter Vengeance series, which is Never, and it's a great series, so I would check that out. I also read, or listened to, I should say, Carl's Doomsday Scenario, which is the second book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. And that was such a fun, like the audiobooks for this series are so great. And it really is like book 1 is obviously getting you into the whole idea that the aliens have taken over our world and they're forcing humans to compete in this like televised game show and the second book sort of dives deeper into some like intergalactic politics. Like I was talking to my husband about it, and in book 1 you're really stuck in this, you're in the dungeon, you're learning how things start to work in the dungeon and what Carl and Princess Donut are facing. But then in book 2 that expands even further, and you get to know sort of what's going on in the larger galaxy, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm currently listening to book 3. I just started it, but I really love this series. I think they're great. So this was a 5-star audiobook for me. The next book that I read was All the Devils by Caitlin Wilson. And this is the first book in a YA fantasy series. It's like dark academia fantasy, and I cannot remember the name of the series right now. I don't want to spend too much time like trying to flip through. It's something with witches. But anyway, this is the first book, and I did a rapid reviews video separately for this, so I'm not going to deep dive into it right now, but I will say it was a solid like 4-star read for me. It's got a really, really cool sort of like Egyptian mythology, like tie-in with the world of the dead, the Egyptian gods. And like I said, it's dark academia, and I love an academic setting. So while it wasn't a 5-star for me, it was a very solid 4-star. I really enjoyed that one. I'm definitely going to read the sequel. The next book that I read was an ebook, and it was The Raven Scholar, and I'm glad I read it as an ebook because she's chunky. She's more than 600 pages. But man, was this book fantastic. This was my favorite read of the month of January. Full 5+ stars. Okay, we're gonna take a little sip break. So, like I was saying, this was absolutely my favorite book of January. The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson is, again, the first in a series, and I already tried to pre-order book 2, but the release date's not set yet, so you can't actually pre-order it, which is killing me, but that's all right. So The Raven Scholar is an epic fantasy set in a world where there's this kingdom that has an emperor. The emperor is only allowed to rule for a certain number of years, and then they have this big trial where a person chosen by each of the monasteries that represent the 8 animal spirits that have saved their world over and over and over. Each of those 8 monasteries puts up one person that they believe is their strongest candidate to be emperor, and whichever one wins all of the trials becomes the next emperor. So one of the things I really loved about this book was you get some of this story told from the perspective of one of the animal spirits, which is just such a unique voice. It was so interesting, and it gave such a cool and unique tone to this book, but also like a wider perspective of what was happening. Another thing that really just immediately drew me in was the book starts with a character perspective that completely shifts after the first major event of the book. So you go in thinking you're following this one person, and then it turns out that is not who you're following for the rest of the book. So again, a very unique twist almost immediately in the book that just sucks you right in. This one was cool because, again, it has the political intrigue, it has the trials aspect, it has like an apocalyptic foretold prophecy, and the characters are all morally gray in different ways. Like, there's no person who's really, truly good. Or I should say there's very few. So it was just, this one blew me out of the water. Again, I can't wait for book 2, and I will be ordering it as soon as it's actually able to be ordered. So the book that I read was also very good. This is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and I just love this copy. This one's just so pretty. This was very interesting and felt mostly unique as well. I really liked the magic system. It's kind of like tarot cards, but not. That's the easiest way to explain it, but that's not exactly what it is. So this is set in a world where there was a king, and the king essentially made a bargain, or a series of bargains, with this spirit of the woods. And every time he made a bargain, he created these cards, and the cards will give people magic when they use them. So there's 12 different kinds of cards. There's only a limited number of each type, and there's more of some than others. And now there's a prophecy that if the cards can all be collected, so somebody gets a full deck, so to speak, then they can remove this curse on the land, where the spirit of the woods lures people into the mist, and you know, they disappear. So they are trying to obviously get rid of the mist that sucks people in. There's also a fever that will make people sick, and after they've gotten the fever, they are essentially, like, if they survive, they're given some sort of magic. That's the side effect. But this is a society where they hunt down the people who had the fever and get rid of them, because they don't want magic users. They want only the people that are using the prophecy cards, because it's controllable, so to speak. So I really liked it, but again, this wasn't a 5-star for me, which was kind of surprising. It was in the 4-star range. And part of that was, I felt like, as much as the idea of the magic system was unique, the plot itself was very predictable in some ways for me. Like, I liked the character voices, I liked the perspectives, but I have a huge theory about what's going to happen in book 2, and I have to wait and find out. But I felt like I kind of knew every step that was going to happen as it happened. So it wasn't in any way bad. The writing's great. It just didn't surprise me. So that's my only real complaint with that, and the only reason it wasn't really a 5-star book. Then I had my lowest rated book of the month, and I was kind of sad, but that's okay. It's a book that I was reading in order to be able to give to my young niece anyway, so I wanted to finish the series, and then it turns out this may or may not be the end of the series. I can't tell. So this is The Expeditioners and the Lost City of Maps. It is book 3 in the Expeditioners series, and this is a middle grade steampunk adventure series. And I had read books 1 and 2 a long time ago, because this book 3 came out in 2019. So they came out obviously in the mid 2010s. And I absolutely loved book 1, really enjoyed book 2 as well, and then sadly this one just didn't really do much. So this is most definitely the shortest book in the series. And what really disappointed me was that there wasn't a lot that happened. So it felt like the book got cut off almost. Like in books 1 and 2, it's kind of like, you know, what's supposed to happen in a series, where you have like really a introduction to a story arc. That story arc gets completed within the book, and then there's a hook to draw you in to come back for the next book. So like an overarching storyline, of course. Books 1 and 2 both sort of finished each of their own stories well. They had interesting settings. The characters are fun. There's illustrations in the book, which I always find really cool. So like the character pictures, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And again, this one had a fun setting. It was in sort of a fictional foreign country, like a desert where they ride these giant lizards and they're going looking for like these underground ruins and whatever. But this one just literally felt like a novella setting you up for the next book. It was a filler book, so to speak. And the sad part is I tried to look and see if there is a book 4, and I think this is one of those series that like the pandemic pretty much killed. So I don't think there is a book 4, even though you can most definitely tell there was a plan for book 4. So I ended up purchasing the books 1 and 2 to go with this. I'm gonna give the set to my young niece, and she's just the right age. She's 10, so she'll really enjoy these. But for me, that last book was kind of a bummer, and there doesn't seem to be a book 4, so that's kind of where it's at, I guess. But I do feel good that I basically finished that series. That's another one of my goals for 2026, is to actually finish out some series that have just been hanging on my list forever, because I'm really notorious for just not reading the last book in a series because I kind of don't want it to end. So we're trying to push past that now. And then my last book of the month that I finished right at the end of the month, I literally finished this book on January 31st. I was like, I gotta finish it before February. Oh my God. I like to put pressure on myself for no reason, but it was great, and I also didn't want to put it down, so that's also why I managed to finish it before it rolled into February. And it was A War of Wyverns by S.F. Williamson. And this is the sequel to A Language of Dragons, which I absolutely loved. And I loved this one too. This was a 5-star for me. The Raven Scholar still beat it out as my favorite of the month, but this was number 2 for sure. So A War of Wyverns. In A Language of Dragons, you're basically getting the setup that there's a group of people working at Bletchley Park. We're trying to code break because in this fictional world, there are dragons that have taken over the country of Bulgaria, and they are threatening England and their allies. And there are dragons in England who are trying to hold off the Bulgarians. And again, this team of language experts, engineers, etc., are at Bletchley Park trying to break the code to understand the Bulgarian dragons so that they have a better chance to win the war, the impending war. So our main character is a girl whose family was captured and are being held for treason, and she was told that if she could break the code, because she's a dragon language expert, she was going to college for that, if she can help break the code, they will set her family free. So in book 2, trying not to give spoilers, war has officially broken out, and our main character is sort of in hiding and is still attempting to code break different dragon languages. She's sent on this secret mission to find a very specific type of dragon and coerce them, or I should say persuade them to join their side and help them win the war. That's the very most basic synopsis. Again, this author just does such a great job of melding sort of like historical, the historical time, the feeling of what was going on, the concept of the war, like the World War at that time, with this fantasy world and dragons. And it's just such a great series. I really enjoyed book 2 as much as I enjoyed book 1. And now I can't wait for book 3. I think it's going to be another stellar addition to the series. So that was a great way to end January. So for the month of January, everything I read was a 4-star or higher, except for that one middle grade book, and that's okay. It was a little one, it was a one-off, and the rest of the month was great. So that was my January reading wrap up, and I'd love to have you maybe put your favorite book of January in the comments, or, you know, drop me a note like, how did you feel about any of the books that I read? Yeah. So I hope your January was a great reading month, and I will see you at the end of February for the February reading wrap up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, come back for future videos. I'd love to have you. All right, bye.